splash hit. Oh, yeah.
And he hits one high. He hits one deep. McCovey called.
Well, they can put a number up on the splash hit sign now.
And they are.
Got a splash hit. And that was a water shot.
High drive to right. Headed to the water. It is out of here. And this game is over.
Hello and welcome to Splash Hits, the UK Giants podcast. I'm your host, Ash Day, and today I'm joined by the usual gang, Dave, Charlie and Ben. If you guys want to say hello, I'll swing around to Dave, Charlie and Ben first.
Hi, how's it all going, everyone? Good to be here.
Hi, Ash.
All right, Ash. Hopefully you've recovered from what happened at the weekend.
Don't know what you're talking about, Charlie. This is only a positive Giants podcast, this episode. With that said, we've got a lot to talk about. The last episode of Splash Hits was back in early May. So the Giants have been on the road. They've been at home. They've won a few games. They've lost a few games. So we're going to talk about a bit of everything. Before we get into the post-mortem of the Dodgers series that ended yesterday, I'm going to talk to the guys about what we liked from the Giants in the last couple of weeks or so. As I said, they've won a few games and they were doing pretty good. So I'm going to go to Ben, Charlie and Dave. If you guys want to highlight something you've really liked about the Giants these last couple of weeks since the last episode.
Hi, Ash. Yeah, the thing that I've enjoyed most this season and definitely in the last 2 or 3 weeks is that Buster Posey, he had a hot start on opening day, but he could have easily tailed off and he's not. I think there was one of the home runs he hit. The bat speed was just remarkable. Quicker than I'd ever seen him have that bat speed. I think I was one of the people that when he had the hot start just sort of was crossing my fingers, hoping that it stayed and not really expecting it to carry on. And I like the way that they've rotated him in and out so that Eckler has given him plenty of off days, and that seems to be keeping him fresh. Having him in the lineup, I think, on opening day, he was hitting 7th. Now he's sitting up there in 3rd. It's just, for all Giants fans, he's probably, if he's not your favourite player, he's your number 1 or 2. And just to see Buster Posey enjoying his baseball, playing well, it's just good to watch.
It's a pleasure to watch, definitely.
Yeah, for me, it's been the starting rotation. On the previous Splash Hits, we highlighted how well they were doing at the time. And unfortunately, I know results haven't gone their way recently, but throughout the whole road trip, they were all generally pitching well with unfortunately, Cueto excused. The other 4, including even Logan Webb, was putting up some solid outings before his injury. And even, I know we're going to go into it in a bit more detail shortly, but there were a few positives to take away at the weekend, and that is Scott Kazmaier being the 6th starter and doing his bit for the 3 innings he was out there as well. But Kevin Gausman continuing to roll along. I think you can make a safe argument that he's a top 5 pitcher in the NL. I know some people say that's a bold take, but if you look at the advanced analytics, you look at the traditional metrics, you look at the way his pitches move, I think there's a really good argument there. Alex Wood as well, he's solidified himself as a number 2. And going back to the previous Splash Hits again, I know we were having the discussion there saying at the time he was the number 2 and we were all hoping he could keep it together. And I know DeSclafani, yeah, all right, yesterday was yesterday, but before that you can't argue with the season he was having either. And those guys are the reason that the Giants have maintained a really good record in the NL. Even though they lost yesterday, they've still got a top 3-4 record in the NL. And the starting pitchers should be really proud of the season they've all put in. And I've just got some stats in front of me. And as a staff, they've got a 2.88 ERA on the season, which is 3rd best in all of baseball. So you can't argue with how well they've all done.
Does anybody know which 2 teams have a better ERA than that? Because I do. It's a bit disappointing. It's the Dodgers and the Padres.
Of course it had to be.
Well, bringing up the Padres, my positive will have to be seen as I said that they weren't as good as they think they are last time, and that the Giants have sort of held them to that, and we are 5-4 against them. So can't be better than that. They're not as good as they say, clearly, are they? They might be sat top now, but they've just used the good timing of playing the Mariners while Giants and Dodgers were playing. So it'll come back around again.
Yeah, we'll get our chance. Yeah, definitely. I think everything you guys have said is there has been a lot of positives about the Giants these last few weeks. My biggest positive, I just can't believe Brandon Crawford is leading the team in home runs. Who would have foreseen that? That's absolutely crazy. Every time I watch him, he seems to hit a home run. So I need to tune into a few more Giants games live, I think. Brilliant. So yeah, we've touched on some good stuff about the Giants. But before we get into the, shall we say, the bad stuff that happened recently against the Dodgers, I believe, Ben, did you make a guest appearance with some UK baseball royalty lately? Do you want to tell us about that?
I did, and you can find it on the Apple App Store or wherever you listen to your podcasts via the Johnny and Josh show. Behind Home Plate, episode 11, and they do a podcast which is talking about all the teams, but also about fantasy baseball. So as a fantasy player myself, we talked a little bit about fantasy players to pick up and some Giants players to pick up, and also we just talked about the hot start that the Giants have had. It's hosted by Johnny Gold, I think that's how you pronounce his surname, who many people will know from Channel 5 Baseball before my time, but I was aware of him. It was really two really nice guys, know their stuff, good laugh. So yeah, if you give them guys a like and a follow, and you can listen to me there talking for half an hour about Giants baseball. And they were very complimentary about the team.
That's what I was just about to say. I hope they treated you and the Giants very well on your appearance.
Other than saying that they thought we had an easy start to the schedule, which is true, but yeah, they were very complimentary.
Good, I'm glad. Okay, well, shall we get into the meat of the most recent series? This trip the Dodgers came into Oracle Park. They sadly swept the Giants all 3 games. Charlie, did you say you were witness to every single minute of these brutal 3 games?
I did, Ash, unfortunately.
You poor soul.
I did watch the first 2 games. Well, I watched the second game kind of until about the 4th inning, and then went to bed, and then picked up the day after. First game I watched after the event, just due to lateness of it, and third game yesterday I did unfortunately catch live. So let's be positive. The first 2 games, the Giants were in it for a lot of those games. You can't really fault Alex Wood in the first game. He makes one mistake pitch to, unfortunately, the hottest Dodger around in Max Muncy. He puts it over the wall, and that's the offense. And our offense just didn't do enough to back him up and get him at least a no decision, which was the least he deserved. And all right, he did allow traffic throughout pretty much every inning, but he did work his way out of it as well. And the bullpen in that game did their part as well. Just having a look at the box score. Zach Littell, Caleb Berrigar, and Yarlene Garcia, who up to yesterday was having a good bounce back as well. So the Dodgers were weak against lefties, so that's why Cap was using them quite a lot in this series, for anybody else who was wondering. So game 1, yeah, Alex Wood did everything he could. I don't think you can really fault him. We found out why they're paying Trevor Bauer $40 million this season. In case anyone was wondering, that we unfortunately got the best of him. Games 2 and 3. Game 2, again, the Giants just didn't do enough offensively. And Walker Buehler, what can you say? For me, second best pitcher in the NL behind Jacob deGrom. 4 pitches, he can spot them anywhere at any time he wants. And scarily, how he's only about, I think, 25, 26 as well. Again, when he's at his best, the only pitcher we have who can really equal him out, in my opinion, is Kevin Gausman, and he pitched against Cincinnati, so he was unavailable for this series. And I know we all hate to give the Dodgers credit, but you've got to give credit where it's due. He did his job. They did their job. We did put some more runs on the board in that one. And then yesterday, the DeSclafani horror show. And as Crookenkipe said, not every pitch he made that they got hit on was a bad pitch. A lot of them were really lucky hits where they just found an inside pitch, found some grass, and that was it. And it was just a nightmare after that, and it just got completely out of control. And unfortunately, the grand slam for me was the one that was the nail in the coffin. But I will say this about the Giants: 5 runs without reply, so they did get they did get the last say, so to speak, in terms of scoring runs and getting runs on the board, and they played till last out. And in that situation, that's all you can really ask for. I know Crook and Quite was saying ideally you want to get them to at least the point where they were getting Kenley Jansen ready in the bullpen. They didn't quite do that, but they did get Blake Train, and I can't remember whether he came into the game or not, but he was getting warmed up to come into the game at the very worst. So that was a small victory in itself. And there's a few positives at least I can go away on. And they still do have the 3rd best record in the NL and are in possession of the 2nd wildcard spot. So, okay, it's a damage to pride. It is a bit of a humiliation by your rivals, which you never like. But bigger picture, it doesn't take away anything from what they've achieved coming into that series.
Yeah, and we get a lot more opportunities to get our revenge as well. We play the Dodgers a bunch more times. It is funny, actually, looking at how the games went. And I after yesterday's early hammering, it felt like the whole series was just an absolute beatdown. But if we go back to that game 1, it was a close game. We only lost 2-1. We did see, unfortunately, Trevor Bauer at his best. But we also saw him at his best pantomime villain. His little antics, it's definitely ignited the rivalry. What did you think about that, Dave?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, like Charlie said, I don't mind losing a game if we're in it and you're not being blown out. You don't, game 1, we were in it the whole game. Game 2, we were in it most of the game. Game 3, we came back at the end. We started to fight back, and that's what you like to see. And like you say, we play them, I think it's 19 times over the course of the season. They're going to beat us lots, but we're going to beat them lots as well, hopefully. So it should even out as we go forward. And like you say, we were in those games and we sort of came back. So I'm not too down about it. And you look at our record, it's 1 series. We lost the series to the Rockies. I mean, that's terrible. Losing a series to the Dodgers ain't the worst thing that can happen, is it? So yeah, I'm still positive about it. Like you say, we're still in the race. And like you say, the Padres will play the Dodgers and hopefully will capitalize on that. And when we play the Padres, the Dodgers will no doubt capitalize on it as well. So, there's still a long way to go, and the Giants are doing fantastic. As for Bauer, the pantomime villain, I mean, I don't mind it. You could see it was coming. He was going to do it. I kind of agreed with Kruko. Was it Kruko? When he said it was weak when he did that whole sword thing. That just looked sad.
The sword is so dumb.
That was pathetic. But I think what a lot of people on social media, and they look at Giant and go, if he was on your team, you'd love it. It's like, yeah, but a lot of the people don't dislike him for his on-field stuff. It's his off-field stuff. He's just not a person that I personally can like, and I know a lot of Giants fans, a lot of San Francisco people just can't get behind a person like that off the field to be able to support him on the field. So, I think people need to realise that. But as for the in-game, like giving it the old ear and all that, yeah, fair enough, whatever. I'd rather that than the obnoxious Padres.
Padres are public enemy number 1 this year, are they?
They are. They just seem just obnoxious to me, isn't it? It reminds me of, like, you've got a little brother. You've got a cute little brother. Oh, he's nice. He's got a little cute little brother. And then he gets a bit older and you think, you are annoying. You've turned into a right little git. Just bog off, you obnoxious little sod, And before anyone thinks I'm having a go at my brother, I am the little brother in my family. But that's what it feels like. You're like, oh yeah, Padres all right. And now they're just like, go away, you obnoxious little sod.
It's like they've stopped being a little kid at the NL West, and now they're like the moody teenager, and they've got opinions, and they're going to tell you their opinions, and we don't like that anymore.
They haven't been there long enough to be in that conversation yet. You can be rivals with everyone. Just give it some time. Don't force it. Anyway, back to the Dodgers and over to over the Mets.
No, I like what you said about the Padres and the Dodgers are going to chip away at each other, and I don't think not many people expected us to be in the race 2 months into the season. So if we can hang around and those two take games off each other, the longer we stick around, the better, and it makes this race more interesting. Staying on the topic of being positive in this Dodgers series, Ben, you're a resident Austin Slater fan, and he hit his 5th home run of the season yesterday. Can you see greater things in Slater's future, his near future specifically?
He's heating up. I'm telling you now, he's heating up. Watch out, Mike Tuckman. He's going to take your spot in the roster every day. I hope so, because I feel like we need someone out there to just, like Brandon Crawford's had a couple of weeks where he's carried the team, and Posey's had a week here or there where he's carried the team, and then nobody carried the team for 3 days. So, we've got 2 against Arizona, who I think have lost 9 in a row. So if somebody can hop up against some of their bad pitching, and then carry that on into the Dodger series where we've got 4 against them, if it's Slater, that would be great. But I think Slater or Dickerson, one of them has to, carry the team now for a week, because, they're probably playing just slightly below expectation. But yeah, it's a shame his home run didn't count for much yesterday. But, it's good to see him, even if it's just for the confidence, if nothing else, dock that one in. And not just on the Dodgers and my thoughts on Trevor Bauer. I just think he's a bit of a prick. And it's not because of the antics. It's just it just seems very scripted. The whole sword and cup in the ears. Like when we had Muncy and Bumgardner, it was 2 guys who just had a problem with each other in the moment. And it's Bauer's very pantomime villain. I think he even said the quote that they're not going to like me anyways, so I might as well get for it. It just all seems a bit fake. It's like, you don't really hate us. You're just doing it just to get a few laughs and a few jeers. Just, just fuck off, really. It just pisses me off. He does. And he's got a face. I don't like his face. I don't like him. That's why when we was linked with him in the summer, sign him to a contract, I wasn't too keen. And I didn't even know much about the stuff he says off the field. I've come to learn a bit of it. I don't really care too much about what people are like off the field. That everyone's their own person, and they've all come from different places in the country or in the world. There's going to be a lot of different personalities, but he just seems like an attention seeker, and that's quite annoying.
Yeah, he is a total enigma in some respects, because I think what you said about him being fake, the whole hate me thing, it's just not authentic. When a rival player really gets on your nerves for the right reasons, then that's real. You can have real emotion to it. But his whole thing about wanting to be disliked, it's so strange, it's so weird, and it's not authentic. And he's trying to he's all about brand Bauer. And he's trying to build that brand of hate. And it's well, this isn't cool. This isn't fun. Which is really weird, because he's clearly a massive lover of baseball. The way he talks about his craft, the way he talks about pitching is actually amazing to listen to. But then you listen to all the other rubbish that comes out of his mouth, and you think, yeah, I'm actually quite glad the Giants never signed him, because he's totally loopy. Yeah. And
he's so good as a pitcher. If he was just a little bit less annoying, you'd look at him as someone like Jacob deGrom or Shane Bieber and just appreciate him for who he is. And the Dodgers at the moment, we're not meant to like the Dodgers, and I don't like the Dodgers. They don't have that many unlikable people.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, on their team, they don't. Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, even Kershaw, Walker Buehler, they're not unlikable. Him and Julio Urias are probably the 2 that I don't particularly like, and out of a whole roster, But him, it's just because he wants to not be liked. All right, so maybe he's not listening. I know he's not, but if he was, he'd go, ha ha. This is what I wanted, but not for me.
Yeah, I get you, and I think exactly what you said. The rivalry has always been a little bit because I like some of the Dodgers players. It sounds weird to admit that as a Giants fan, but like Clayton Kershaw, I have admiration for Clayton Kershaw. I mean, I loved it when he choked in the playoffs a lot. That was even better. But you can't deny he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He's amazing, and he's kind of likable in that respect. So maybe Bauer, he's not authentic in us hating him, but it's helped the rivalry. The fans were giving him real reception. So let's see how it gets on the rest of the season. Definitely. Are we finished up on the Dodgers? Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add on the last Dodgers series?
Just a quick point, Ash, there. I think you made a great point, or Ben made a great point about comparing Kershaw to Bauer, because like when Bueller, for instance, got out of a jam, like he went, yes, but it wasn't like in a disrespectful way. It was like just he was that relieved to get out of the situation. And like you could tell like he was just hyped up, and we understand that and we don't take it in the wrong way and we accept that. But obviously with the theatrics Bauer was putting on, like as Ben was saying, it was the complete opposite. So I think going forward, like Bueller's going to be kind of the Kershaw kind of calming, sensible ace influence, whereas Bauer's going to be kind of the pantomime villain, as Dave put it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what we'll see. And to just end on one more positive note, Donovan Solano is back. He's back in the lineup. I think he had 2 hits yesterday. He had 2 hits on Saturday as well. So I think a healthy Donovan Solano really helps the Giants lineup, and he seems to have picked up where he left off. He's still hitting. So let's see how he gets on in Arizona, which brings me on to our next segment. We've got a preview for you of the Arizona Diamondbacks series. No game tonight while we're recording on this Monday night, but they're in Arizona for 2 games on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to swing around the team. I'm going to go to Ben, Dave, and Charlie about what you guys are looking forward to in this Arizona series.
Hopefully a 2-game sweep, just like when Texas came into town and we sort of brushed them aside. Just looking at the standings now, and after last night's defeat for the Diamondbacks, who are 1-9 in their last 10, they're bottom behind the Rockies in the NL West. So we've got Kevin Gausman, Johnny Cueto going to the mound. 2 confident pitchers. I see no reason why we shouldn't go in there and at minimum take a split. But they're 9-9 at home, and on the road we're 14-12. So it gives it up to be an even couple of games, but ones that maybe we go into as favourites. I mentioned before about the bats. I think we've got no. Even after last night's pitching performance, it was the first bad starting pitching performance really of the year, where we got blown out. But I think you look at these two guys on the mound and think, they give us six innings of 1-run ball or something, we should heat up a little bit and a few home runs, hit one into the swimming pool, and I'm putting my money on Austin Slater, of course, and Donnie Barrels, who's like you said, he's back. So I'm confident, and I think when you're going into LA with 4 games, if we were to have a bad 2-game series here after a bad series against the Dodgers, then going in there for 4, it's going to feel a lot different this time next week. So, I think it's just a confidence thing. Before last night, we hadn't lost more than 2 games in a row, and now we have. It's 3 games in a row, so it's time to stop the rot.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's sort of come at a perfect time, and that it's a 2-game as well. So it's sort of like get out of San Francisco, go to Arizona, take on the Diamondbacks, who are 1-9 for the last 10. I mean, they won 1 game against the Nationals, and they're not playing well. They haven't announced who's pitching yet, and I didn't look back to see who possibly could. Will we see Mad Bum? I don't know, but it'd be nice just for the fun of it. But
so it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, Dave. Just as you were saying that, I was just looking it up to see if I could ask you that as a question. Sadly, it looks like we're going to miss Mad Bum. I think he pitched on Saturday against the Rockies, so I don't think he's scheduled to be in the rotation for our trip to Arizona, which is a bit sad. I'd quite like to see Bumgarner.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get him in San Francisco, but it'd be good to to see him, and because he is doing well again, which is great to see, really, even if it is with the D-backs. We love Mad Bum. We want him to do well wherever he is. So, but yeah, if we can get in there, get some runs, get some hits, get some confidence up, go into LA, and even up the season scores, and then see who comes out on top. Because possibly that one team will be 4-3. Not that I'm saying we're going to sweep the Dodgers by 4. I'm not. I'm not going out that far a limb this time.
Yeah, so Arizona in the form guide have lost 8 in a row coming into this, and as Dave was saying, they were 1-9, and they also just got swept by Colorado. Statistically, what's surprising for me is they're 20th in the OPS in the league with 694, and you always think of Arizona and you think the one thing they can do, especially with the team being built around that park, is offense, and that's not going well for them this season. They're also 28th in ERA with I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, third worst ERA in the league between the bullpen and rotation as well. Zach Gallen is on the IL, so we won't be seeing him, and he usually gives us a lot of trouble going by the last 2 years. So everything should be set up the way exactly the Giants want it in order to sweep. But as you say, these games aren't played on paper, and we've got to make sure we go out there and get the job done. And also, I can't remember who points out they are 9 for 9 at home, so we can't take them lightly. We can't just walk in there and think, okay, they're just going to lie down and let us walk over them. They'll be keen to get out of that NOS cellar and try and distance themselves from the Rockies. So we've just got to make sure that we go in there, perform, bounce back, and make a statement before rolling into LA next week.
Yeah, I think you're right. They can't be underestimated by any means, but as Dave was saying, this is a prime opportunity to put that Dodgers sweep behind us and move on, get a couple of wins against Arizona. It sets us up nicely for momentum as we go to LA for a 4-game series with the Dodgers. So yeah, putting behind the Dodgers mess, focus on Arizona. Don't take them lightly, but pick up a couple of important wins and move forward. That's the most important thing. I think I will be interested to see how we get on there. Like you said, that park is made for the offense. So if the Giants can get our offense going again, guys like Donnie Barrels, it'd be nice to see Posey back hitting home runs again. Good things can happen. We're looking forward to it. Yeah, so that's it for for our little Arizona preview coming up. We were just talking about Bumgarner a moment ago, and he has thrown a no-hitter this year. Now, was it official or not is to be disputed. But yeah, if he was one of the many no-hitters this year, I personally think it should count, even though it was a 7-inning thing. I know, Ben, you've been talking about no-hitters lately.
Yeah, I agree with you. That should count, and that would have made it 7. You can't change the rules and then take it away from him, but there's been 6 official no-hitters. And given that there seems to be no change in the way it started, it'll probably be another 6 by the end of May. You never know, or maybe by the end of June, another 6 or 7. The Giants could possibly be in for a chance for one this year. And just wanted to go, all you guys, maybe start with you, Dave, and then Ash and Charlie, who you think would be the best candidate.
Ooh. We're going to add this to our pre-prediction sheet. See if we all go for someone different. Getting a bonus point.
We would never have thought of this at the start of the year.
No, definitely not. I'll go for Alex Wood. I think he's pitching really well, and I think if the game's called right and he's on his form, I think he could do it. I'm going to go for Alex Wood. I really liked him. He's been really good since he's been at the Giants.
Yeah, I was thinking about Wood for my pick, but this has been a weird year for no-hitters where there's been a bunch of names of guys we just didn't expect to ever come up on the radar of throwing a no-hitter. So I'm actually going to go for Logan Webb. I'm going to pick Logan Webb as my random Giant to throw a no-hitter. He could just get the magic one night and everything will break right for him and he'll throw a no-hitter, hopefully at home. I'd love to see one at Oracle Park.
I actually had a hot take on this on a Giants Chatter admin chat in the preseason, so I'm going to stick with that and be consistent and not change my mind or anything. So I went with Kevin Gausman, but combined, because coming into the season, I didn't think Cap was going to let starting pitchers go into the ninth. And obviously we've seen with Cueto that if they are shown they have the stuff to do it, he is willing to let them do that. But I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to say Gausman goes 7 or 8, and then the classic duo of McGee and then Rogers takes over to finish it off.
Excellent. Well, let's hope we see one of those no hitters before the end of the year, and hopefully in the orange and black of the Giants, and not against us like we worried we might see in that last game against the Dodgers. I think some of us were sweating.
Make sure we get Ben's pick in.
Oh yeah, Ben, go on then. You put the question out. I want to hear who you like.
It's hard to not say Gausman because he's been so good. But it was a good point you made, Ash, that it's not always been the aces spraying him so far this year. So maybe I'll go with Aaron Sanchez when he's back off the IL. Maybe he'll have a purple patch and blow someone away for the day.
Well, who would have had Chris Heston throwing in there?
Yeah.
So like you say, it is a bit of a roll of the dice and see which starter you get. But yeah.
Also, if Posey's behind the plate, if it does happen, I think he'll be one of only 4 catchers ever to have caught 4 no-hitters. I think I heard that somewhere. So don't hold me to that. It might have been off by slightly, but it might be 5, it might be 6. But I think I remember that correctly. It was 4 if he does it, because he's caught 3 so far, including a perfect game from Matt Cain.
They should do it for Posey. If for nobody else, they should do it for Posey. Excellent. Okay, well, before we finish up and hand over to Charlie for our prospect spotlight, let's just do a quick 3 up, 3 down. I'm going to go to Charlie first, and then Ben and Dave.
Okay, so for the player who I've been impressed with at the moment, and I did not think I would be picking him at all this season, Mr. Stephen Duggar, who since our last show has posted an 838 OPS, and he had the grand slam against Cincinnati right before the Dodgers series as well. He does seem to have made changes to both his approach and swing. I know he did hit that grand slam, but he's not just trying to hit the ball over the wall anymore. He is trying to spray it around the field a bit more, which is something as Giants fans, I think we're all wanting to see him do a lot more, rather than being a home run or strikeout guy like he used to be. So keep it going, Stephen, and maybe we can get a little competition going between Mr. Duggar and Mr. Slater for that centre field spot, in addition to Mr. Tautman as well. And for my player who needs to improve as well, he did just get sent down, but Camilo Doval. And the reason I want to raise this is because I've seen some Giants fans being really negative towards him, but I think we need to remember just how young he is. The stuff is there. It's just he hasn't played above high A before. So we're talking, MLB's 3 levels above that. And I'm sure by August time, he'll have sorted his command out and he'll be back up in MLB and he'll be slipping back into that 7th inning role we thought he would be. And just one thing to add there. Prior to last year, he was developing a changeup as well. I'm guessing they kind of stopped that just due to him being at the MLB level and not having time to focus on that properly. But I think adding that pitch could be a huge thing for him if they decide to go back and have him work on that again.
That's great. I'll start with my negative first, and Doval I had in mind, but you've stolen him from me, Charlie. You've stolen him. So I'll quickly think of my backup, which is Jake McGee. He had such a good start to the year. I think we had such high hopes, but he's had a few rough outings and a few okay outings, but doesn't really feel like the safe closer that we had in the first couple of weeks. So if he can get some command back and change it up from just throwing fastballs straight down the middle of the zone, then that would be a help for the team. And my positive, I was torn between 2 people. Mauricio Dubon and Darren Ruff. Dubon, mainly because I've flated him a lot and his defense has just been outstanding. So he's not my up. My up is Darren Ruff, but I'll give him a little heads up as well. But Ruff is slowly becoming my favourite Giant. For the year at least, anyways. He just seems to make those at bats when it counts. He's hit some key home runs. He seems like a lovable guy. He's actually shown some okay defense at first. And I think he's someone where we sort of, he contributed last year in a short season, and it was easy to think maybe that was a one-off, good couple of months, and he'd have a slow start, and we might not see him, and someone like Vosler would take his place, and hope that he would be a part of the roster. But he's, Darren Ruff stands his own for someone who probably not talked about very often, and no one had high hopes for. I think he's been fantastic.
Everyone's picked on my stuff, so I was going to go with Steven Duggar, but I will go for my backup, which was just to give him the full praise, and that's Dubon. He's getting hits, they're dropping in, but what's really impressed me is his defense has just been outstanding this year, filling in everywhere and doing it well. But what really impressed me was him at second base. It just seems like that's his position, and that should we settle him in there? He just looks so smooth and comfortable, and he made some amazing plays, like running out to the outfield, backhand catches, and beautiful double plays with Crawford, and he just seems perfect there. And you kind of wonder if, all right, move him around every now and again if he needs to, but give him majority of his time at second base. Let him really settle in, because it'd be amazing. We have amazing infield as it is already, and he just makes it better. And so that's my up. I don't have any downs. Not anymore, anyway.
We've had enough downs with the Dodgers lately. No, I like what you said about Dubon. Definitely, I fully agree with his infield partnership with Crawford. Maybe we could see the second coming of the Joe Panic and Brandon Crawford, the Chronic infield. Maybe not quite, but Dubon's got the potential, certainly. I think for my Crawbon. I love Crawbon. That sounds great. It sounds like something you might eat in a sweet shop. Might not be very tasty, but it sounds good. But I have to stay there in the infield for my up. I can't look beyond Brandon Crawford still. He's leading the team in average, home runs, RBI, runs, slugging percentage, OPS. He's basically doing everything. And even on the field, he started the most games. He's been on the field for the most innings. He has the most assists. Brandon Crawford is the 2021 Giants at the moment. He's everything great about the Giants, and I can't look past him for my main guy. If I have to look at one player who's on the down a bit, I'm just going to talk very briefly about Anthony DeSclafani. He's been amazing this year. He's been absolutely lights out. He surpassed all expectations. He did get roughed up yesterday by the Dodgers, so it's a bit of a down, but now he has a point to make. He has a point to prove in his next start, wherever that may be. In 4 or 5 days' time, he'll be looking to get his payback, whoever he faces, and it will probably be the Dodgers. Now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm looking at the schedule. His next start will come against the Dodgers, so he'll want retribution, and hopefully he has a better day of it next time he faces them. Cool. So I'm just going to hand over to Charlie for our prospect highlight, our prospect spotlight.
Thank you, Ash. I'm going to start with the San Jose Giants. One thing to be careful of here is win-loss records in the minor leagues can sometimes be a bit misleading, because managers are also managing to develop the players, not necessarily win the games. So one can go against the other. And before I go into San Jose, one thing to consider here is a lot of these players are playing at this level for the first time, so there is an adjustment period. And with that, San Jose did start the season quite slowly, but they got a 6-4 win yesterday against the Fresno Grizzlies to move to 11-7. Marco Luciano started the season really slowly, but he has picked it up recently. He did have a 2 home run game last week. The 2 stars of the show at that level so far have been Luis Matos, hopefully 5-tool center fielder who's batting .333 and had a hit, a run, and 2 RBIs scored yesterday. He's probably the most likely player to get a promotion, first of all, from San Jose. And a bit of a surprise, Ricardo Genovez, who's batting .346. He's the 3rd Giants prospect catcher behind the highly touted Patrick Bailey and Joey Bart, who I'll move on to shortly. In terms of pitching, Kyle Harrison has started off like a house on fire down there as well. So big names wise, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Luciano's only batting 226, but hopefully he'll get it going soon. Alexander Canero did start off really hot, but he's only batting 193 at the moment. On to the Eugene Emerald, who got a 3-2 win yesterday against sorry, I'm just looking them up. The Dust Devils. I can't see where they're from, unfortunately. But Patrick Bailey did have a hot start, but he's cooled off a bit. He's only batting 234, but he did have a hit and a walk yesterday. Logan Wyatt, he started off hot as well, but now he's only down to batting 214. In terms of who's doing well down there, outfielder Ismail Munguia is batting 286. He's not someone I've really heard of, to be honest. But a name to keep an eye on there who's doing really well is pitcher Caleb Killian, who's had 2 really good outings recently, and MLB Pipeline did only put him down as basically a back of the rotation starting pitcher, but he's looking more like he could be at least a mid-rotation guy, maybe someone further beyond that. In Double-A, I'll go straight to the person you're all waiting to hear about first, Heliot Ramos. He's slowed down a little bit, but he's still batting 277, had no hits yesterday, although the Flying Squirrels did also have a 5-4 loss to move their record to 10-8 on the season. They did start off really hot, so slowed down a little bit. Sean Jelly, also started yesterday. He had a solid outing, 4 hits, one run allowed, which wasn't earned, a walk against 8 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. He threw 92 pitches in that one and did get the win as well. And just a note on the Richmond Flying Squirrels as well, they did have a combined no-hitter last week, which I believe was the first time they'd ever had a no-hitter in their franchise history, so congratulations to them on that. And finally, the Sacramento River Cats, they lost 7-9 to, I believe it was the Reno Aces. Sorry, they lost 7-3 to the Reno Aces. Their record is 7-9 on the season. But a name to keep an eye on who Farhan traded for earlier this season, Tharo Estrada, who's basically the 3rd choice shortstop if anything was to happen to Brandon Crawford or Mauricio Dubon. He's currently batting 355, which is a great sign as he really struggled with the Yankees, and part of the reason they let him go was because of his bats. In terms of other players that are doing well, Mitchell Tolman, who's also a shortstop infielder, he's batting 286 at the moment. And in terms of who started yesterday's game, Anthony Banda, who's really struggled so far. He has a great start with a 4-hit, 5-inning, 6 strikeout shutout. And that's it for the prospect roundup. So names to keep an eye on there. Going by recently, Lewis Matos should get a promotion shortly, and Caleb Killian isn't a pitcher who I really saw much of coming into the season, but he's slowly earning his way up the ladder, so to speak.
Excellent. So the future is still bright for the Giants. Lots of prospects, lots of good stuff going on. Okay, just before we finish up this episode, I'm just going to give myself a cheeky plug quickly. I've just had a new article come out on Bat Flips and Nerds about none other than Kevin Gausman, the ace of the Giants. I maybe think on the bright side and start talking about NL Cy Young contention, possibly. Might be a little bit premature for that, but I got myself dreaming and typed up a few words, so people can head over to batflipsandnerds.com to read that. It's on my Twitter, in all the usual places you'll find it. Have you got anything lined up in the future, Charlie?
I've got a few irons in the fire, Ash. Unfortunately, it's just been real life, as happens to all of us, has got a bit on top of me, but fingers crossed I'll get back to writing soon. One thing I've got in mind is the trio of Posey, Bell, and Crawford, and how likely they are, in percentage terms, they are to stick around. And my first one of those I'm planning to do on Buster Posey. And if you do want him to stick around, I think you'll be very happy with what I come up with in the article for why I think there is a great chance he will stick around. But also just some other things to plug, Ash. Please join us in San Francisco Giants UK on Facebook. I know there's been a few new British fans that have joined recently. Get involved. Tell us how long you've been a Giants fan, who your favourite players are, your origin story, etc. And also, please don't forget to join us in Giants Chat, which is a bigger collaboration between us and some very good American friends of ours who are mostly from the Bay as well. And there's a lot going on in there with series previews, get live game threads, etc. And a lot of our partner podcasts, such as TortureCast, featuring Eric Nathanson, which is the longest Giants podcast going, is based in there as well, as is the Say Hey podcast with Rob and Doug, who have been putting out some really great stuff recently, and RizzoCast with Stephen Risotto, who very recently had the always brilliant Rennell Brooks Moon on there, which was for me a really great interview, and I'd highly recommend it as well.
Yeah, Rennell's the boss. Rennell's great. Yeah, perfect. And of course, Ben guested recently on Johnny Gold's podcast. So if anyone's listening, Ben is available to guest on more podcasts to spread the good Giants word. And yeah, if you guys aren't already following us on Twitter, we're at Splash Hits Pod. And yeah, please like and subscribe us on all your podcasting services. But yeah, I think that's a wrap on this episode. That's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
And from me.
From him.
And we'll see you all for the next episode. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Cool.
Go Giants.